Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Star Wars Mark of Balance podcast. My name is Mark, and today we're going to be doing our first three-way interview. Pause on that one. And you would think I was trying to get Michael Jordan and LeBron James in the same room, because these two guys, for the past couple weeks, have been, yeah, we can make it. Wait, no, there's conflict, can't make it. So it's been back and forth, but we finally got them in the same room, Mr. Patrick O'Toole and Mr. Kevin Bailey. If you guys would like to say hello.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Really excited to get started.
That was Patrick, by the way.
Yes.
Just like Pat said, I'm ready to get going.
That's
Been a
Kevin.
long time coming.
There you go. Now, I've known these guys for probably a decade each. I met Pat in Spanish class in middle school with a teacher that might have been a little too handsy with the students in the room, and he may be fired nowadays.
That is the consensus around town. He nice guy, but yeah, he did like to get his hands on people.
Yeah. And we probably should have known there was a problem when he gave us free pretzels every class and was very excited to do so.
Yes, and something that sticks with me to this day is he showed us a video of young children dancing around to Brown-Eyed Girl, and he cried his eyes out.
He was very into that video, so yes. Yeah, that was an interesting one. So yeah, me and Pat bonded over that. And Kevin I met in Tech Design Lab in middle school also. I knew about him from the football circuit, you know, how we do in the small towns. And Kevin would always get hurt, and I always thought he was so tough because he had casts on all the time. But then I met him, and it was just the complete opposite of what I thought. But we met in Tech Design Lab building a popsicle stick bridge, if I'm correct, Kevin. I think that's where...
Yes, and I think to this day that might be the most single stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
We literally had to build it outside of class because we couldn't do it in class. We just went way too hard. But regardless, I wanted to have them on the podcast because they're both more casual Star Wars viewers. All the people I've had on the podcast so far are pretty diehard, you know, live, breathe Star Wars, especially Troy. Troy's also in the room. Had him on as the second interview. And he will be listening, but he will not be participating. You might hear him chuckling or making Troy noises, but he will not be involved in the interview. So we'll be having a more casual viewing, but I think this viewpoint and opinion is just as important as the diehards, because sometimes diehards might be a little too opinionated, and the casuals might be able to, you know, keep us cool and collected. So I'll start with Patrick. What was either your first Star Wars memory or something that hooked you to Star Wars and you knew like this was a franchise you wanted to kind of follow and be a part of?
So hearing this question on the podcast had sparked a memory. First thing I can remember, a little blurry, very blurry maybe, is the Coliseum fight scene in Attack of the Clones.
Geonosis, yes, of
correct.
Course.
I want to say I saw it in theaters, which would put me at about 5 years old. And all I remember is that the theatrics really caught my eye.
A lot of lightsabers.
Yes, it was huge and it was awesome. So it made me interested. Now I didn't come from a Star Wars family; no one else watches it. But when I watched the original trilogy in high school, that's where I decided that I am a fan of this. This is very interesting. I like it.
So it was high school. You actually saw the original trilogy much later.
Yeah, when I was probably 16, I bought the trilogy, the original trilogy.
Oh, okay.
The first time I'd ever seen any of those, and that's what made me realize this is a really interesting franchise.
Cool. And Kevin, how about you?
So my earliest memory was my mom actually introduced me to the franchise. It was the Phantom Menace of the prequels. Mm-hmm. It was on TV. It was a rerun. Yeah. I didn't see it. My first experience was not in the movie theater. It was on TV. So she showed me it. She was a casual fan. She wasn't very diehard. She didn't love it. Mm-hmm. But it was on TV, so we sat down and we watched it.
Commercials and everything, or no?
Yeah, that was before the time of DVR, so we had to sit through the commercials.
For like 4 hours.
Absolutely awful. So I watched it. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Then it might have been maybe a couple years later, I watched the original trilogy, and I was like, all right, yeah. I see where everybody's coming from. Like, gotcha. This is something. Mm-hmm. And then I just picked up on it more and more, following the lore or whatever it was. I was like, all right, I'm into this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the main reason I wanted to have you guys on was, you know, me and Troy have been trying to get you guys to watch Clone Wars for a very long time, and I think it's really cool that just recently you guys both started watching it like at the same time. I put together I literally put together an Excel sheet for these guys of what Clone Wars episodes to watch, which ones to skip, because I know Clone Wars, if you're not like diehard Star Wars, there might be a couple episodes you'll watch and it'll turn you off to it. So I wanted to make sure I gave them a good cheat sheet on what to watch that would get them hooked. I believe Kevin finished, and I think, Pat, you're on season 3, season 4-ish?
I'm somewhere about halfway through the show, I'd say.
Right. So I wanted to ask you guys what was your impressions with the Clone Wars? What did you like about it? What did you think about it in total? Like, were me and Troy overhyping it, or did you guys enjoy it as a Star Wars story? I'll start with Kevin because he finished it. Don't spoil it for poor Patrick. But
I'll try my best.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for color coordinating as well. That helped me out. I'm a visual learner, so that helped me out a lot. But I think I enjoyed it a lot. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I think it filled a lot of gaps that the prequel trilogy did not show.
Yes.
So me being like a casual fan, I didn't know like the exact steps of a certain event, how things led up to it.
Yep.
And I think the show really patched those holes for me and gave me a deeper look into what Star Wars actually is as a whole.
Definitely. And you would say it made you a bigger Star Wars fan.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Pat, how about you? Halfway through.
So yeah, I'm halfway through, and not finishing it yet is not a reflection on the show. I'm just guilty of like sort of losing track of shows, and my attention span may not be the best. But so far, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I like what Kevin said about filling in gaps. That's been very interesting. Because from movie to movie, you jump very quickly from Anakin's ages. I believe you and Brandon mentioned that last episode.
Yeah, I think I've brought it up in most of them, even with Troy, for sure.
So you're missing a lot, and that could be a small adventure that's really fun. Could be a big war, anything like that. And to see those, and to see a character more than for just 2 hours every 4 years in a movie was really cool, is cool, and I plan on finishing it soon.
Yeah, I think what was interesting was I didn't think Pat would really like the Clone Wars. I don't know why. I feel like with Pat's taste in entertainment, he usually goes for, the gritty. And, Clone Wars takes its time to get there, but once it gets there, it very much commits to the grittiness. And what really got you guys into Clone Wars was Mandalorian, right? That's what made you guys wanted to watch it, right? After the Ahsoka episode, right?
Yes. I got to that episode, and I texted you guys, and I was saying, okay, I don't really know who she is.
Yes.
I would like
I would like to know.
I would like to know who she is.
Yes.
So once I sent that text out, you helped me out a lot.
I put together a spreadsheet.
Color coordinated.
Yeah.
Color coordinated.
Cannot stress enough the greens and the yellows for optional arcs.
Green was good. Yellow was okay.
It was okay. If you wanted it, you could do it. If not, all right. And Pat, same thing, right? I remember you.
Well, you had me start the Clone Wars before I ever watched Mandalorian.
Oh, okay, yes.
So I had started it when I was at school. I kind of just lost track of it.
Yeah.
And then I think Clone Wars kind of sparked a little bit of Star Wars excitement in me.
A little mojo, yeah.
And then with the cultural hype around The Mandalorian, I dove straight into that. And I finished that phenomenal. But seeing Ahsoka was really cool, even though I don't have as much appreciation as you may have.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's cool, like seeing Clone Wars as an adult, because me and Troy watched it when we were younger. But I definitely think you get a different appreciation for it if you watch it as an adult, because I know when I watched it as a kid, and then when I rewatched it as an adult, like I got two different views of the show, because it really does tackle some really deep things that you might not understand. Like they talk about toppling governance with the rebellion. They talk about slavery. They talk about a lot of crazy stuff. You'll get there, Pat, I think. But yeah, I think it's a really great show. You definitely need some guidance, which is why I provided the Excel sheet, because there are some arcs. I know Troy could probably attest to that there's some things that might be skippable. But yeah, I'm really glad you guys are liking it, and definitely with Ahsoka, she's amazing, and the more you get to know her in the show, it's just And Kev, one word, Kev, don't spoil it, but one word for the last arc of the show. One word, as someone that's a casual Star Wars fan. For all the people that haven't watched Clone Wars or are thinking about it, what's the word for the last arc of the show?
it is very hard to put it into one word.
I love that answer. I love that answer.
Truthfully, me being a casual fan, I was left speechless. I would say it's breathtaking.
There we go. So, Pat, you got something to look forward to. For anyone that, I don't know if there is, but if there's anyone that hasn't seen Clone Wars, when you get through it, I mean, it really takes your breath away. Like Kevin said, it's amazing. Can't recommend it enough. So we're talking about Clone Wars, talk about a lot of characters being introduced. We're talking about the original trilogy, prequel trilogy. Which characters, resonated with you guys the most, or which one you liked the most? I started with Pat last time. Kevin, favorite character or one that really sticks with you?
That's a very tough question.
A lot of characters.
I've been going back and forth. We had the conversation earlier today. It is very hard for me to pick one single character. I was going back and forth with it. But if I had to pick my all-time favorite character, it would probably be Han Solo.
Okay.
I appreciate the grit, the hardcore, not relying on anybody, just doing his own thing. It brings a different side, I think, to the storyline, because everyone's together, everyone wants to be one thing, but he's out doing his own thing. I think it brings a separate side to it, and I like that a lot. Yeah,
I think that was my favorite part of A New Hope, when he comes back after he collects the reward and he leaves, and then he comes back and help him at the Death Star. I think that's the best part of A New Hope. And Han Solo, you can't go wrong with a Han Solo pick.
And he's got a lot of comedy in his character too.
I was
hilarious.
Yeah. I was very close to saying Chewbacca, because he's
funny too.
He's a ride or die.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He's the most dedicated creature I've ever seen.
That's a good way to put it. Amazing being.
When you say wingman, you think Chewbacca.
Sure.
I mean, come on.
If I'm going to a bar, I want Chewbacca at my side.
He's gonna hook you up.
You'd own the bar in about an hour and a half.
He'd take it by force.
Exactly.
Could. Bowcaster, good weapon. A lot of spread.
Get a good spread.
Now, Pat, how about you?
So, to touch quickly, I think as a lot of kids, you're drawn to Mace Windu.
I don't think I like that terminology there.
Drawn to kids?
Draw quickly, touch on.
Oh, whoa. This is an interrogation, is it? Anyway.
Jigs up, pal.
We got him.
As a kid, I was drawn to Mace Windu. I think in two parts, because purple lightsaber, of course. I think everyone can relate to that to some extent. But also Samuel L. Jackson. Now, did I know how awesome he was when I was a kid? I don't think so. But
I don't think you would have seen
he's got
Pulp Fiction at that point.
He's got an aura. But if I really went for my all-time favorite character, I'm going with Yoda.
Nice.
As a kid, you see the little green guy. He talks funny. He's jumping around. And then when I saw the original trilogy, you see how wise he is, the teachings he gave. And then even in the Clone Wars, he continues that. And, I think he's a great fighter. He's a great master. He's wise. He's awesome. I love him.
Yeah, what I really like about Yoda is that in the original trilogy, which came out, 70s and 80s early, 10-year span, Yoda, maybe in all three of the movies, he was only in the second and third one, maybe had 20 minutes of screen time. And you got to think what a cultural impact you have to have in 20 minutes of screen time to be such an influential character. Even before the prequels, to have that impact and just being on the screen for that little time in a science fiction movie, I mean, I think that's pretty amazing. I think that speaks to his character. And I always appreciated Yoda's scenes in Empire Strikes Back as I got older. I mean, I know you saw it as in high school, so you probably have a different lens. But, as you get older, those scenes with Yoda in Empire Strikes Back are just amazing. They're incredible.
I think Pat and I didn't appreciate his greatness till we saw the prequels and see how much of a hardcore savage he is.
Yeah.
With the flips, yeah.
Well, there's a lot, I think that can be said for me personally with almost the entire franchise. Before I saw the prequel trilogy, I didn't have a firm grasp on it. When I saw the sequel trilogy first when I was a kid, I thought I knew the prequel. I'm sorry, the prequel.
Sequels
trilogy. Yes, the prequels when I was a child.
That's what you get when you have casuals in the studio. That's what you get.
Let's not point fingers.
That's what you get.
I knew my dad had mentioned that Anakin became Darth Vader. And I was
Spoiler.
like, I
Dude,
apologize.
I haven't seen it yet.
Come on.
But when he
Dad
told me-
ruined it for you.
I mean, yeah, he wasn't exactly a Star Wars guy, so I don't think that meant much to him.
Yeah.
But so I knew that was coming, and I didn't think much of it. I don't know. I was more about the pretty lights. But once I was able to connect the thought of a trilogy in the 70s to the early 2000s
Yep.
to what was coming out at the time when I was in high school, it really started to blow my mind.
Right.
Put it in pieces together.
Yeah. No, I think that's, like what you said, the original trilogy it laid the groundwork. It didn't complete the galaxy. It just gave like a level playing field. The prequels really fleshed out, the whole galaxy, the political. It made a real world about it. And then the Clone Wars filled and populated it. It gave you all the planets. It gave you all these characters on different planets, their stories, their struggles, obviously, because it's a Star Wars. It's wars. There's always wars. This is not a peaceful galaxy. It's always going to be struggle. So I think the way it's constructed is just so great because it was so forward-thinking. Like, I can't say George had the idea when he made the first trilogy, but just the fact that he was able to bring it all together after making the original and then the prequels and filling in that world and then the Clone Wars with Dave Filoni, I think it's just...
It's amazing. It really is
It's really
For
great.
one person to be able to create a universe like that, whether it be Star Wars, Lord of the Rings,
Right,
Harry Potter,
yeah.
it blows my mind every time.
Yeah.
Do you always think it was his plan to create this whole quote-unquote galaxy?
Well, the origin... I believe A New Hope was not intended to make a trilogy. I believe New Hope was supposed to be a singular movie, and then when it did well, he continued that story. As we know, George Lucas is not the greatest dialogue writer, so as the trilogy expanded, that's when they brought in the different talent for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. They had different directors. And then the prequels, he did everything for because that was kind of his, love child, brainchild. He made the originals. He got stupid money for those, and then he wanted to tell that story. So I'd say the prequels was more his baby because he had full control of those. With the originals, it was A New Hope, he had full control, and then after that they wanted to polish it a little more with more talent, which was fine. I mean, the originals came out great. I'm just saying, I think the prequels was more his, brainchild because he did everything. He directed and wrote all those, and he wanted the CGI, the Jar Jar Binks, all that, and he pushed the boundaries, but yeah, that was kind of his thing. But no, I don't think he intended it for it to go that far, but he was just a forward-thinking guy. He could just somehow put it all together, which is amazing. But yeah, I'll continue. We talked about the movies enough. I know when I put up the post about the Lucasfilm Games merger, I got a lot of interactions in the comments about video games, and I know, Pat, you talked about one video game that stood out to you. I wanted to hear if that one, still resonates with you and what it is.
My favorite Star Wars game, one of my favorite games of all time, I'd say, is The Force Unleashed.
Nice.
I remember I must have been in maybe 4th or 5th grade if I'm just trying to piece things together. Yeah. And it was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I remember my brothers and my neighbors would watch me play because it was so different than anything else we had that they would just watch me play, and I was not giving up that controller. There's no way.
Not happening. So even if I die, I'm keeping this controller.
100%. I'm getting buried with it. So I played.
I meant in the game. I meant in the game. You die.
I mean, both. It's all the same. Same.
Some could say.
So I played that for a long time.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big video game child. Mm-hmm. That got me in my room and kept me there.
Yeah.
And it still resonates. I played the second one. Good stuff.
Yeah. The first one was just...
It's amazing.
With the first one, the story about... I think the first one was great up until that point where it hit where Vader betrays him with Sidious. Mm-hmm. That's where it became amazing because then the whole story just went, oh my God, this is crazy. And then he came back, and I think the love story with Juno was really cool. And I don't know how much you did the customization, but I feel like the suits and the lightsaber colors you can do in that game was super cool.
You just unlocked the memory of, I must have spent hours creating the lightsaber colors, finding where they were and stuff like that, where I was obsessed, I think. Yeah. Just visually. I wanted to look exactly how I wanted to look.
Yeah, I remember you could get, I mean, at that point, it was before the Disney merger, so just everything was canon, and they just had all the lightsaber colors. They had like black, white, red, orange, purple, yellow, magenta, everything. And
Yeah, you could go nuts. It was awesome.
it was super cool, and I think the Jedi hunting in it was really cool. The whole backstory with Ram Koda and everything. I could go on and on. I love.
Let me ask you, do you remember
boy.
the opening scene of the game when you're Darth Vader on the
With
Wookiee planet?
with Kashyyyk, yeah, and you're just mowing people down. You're blowing up the bridges and everything. Yeah,
I mean, to this day, I'm almost speechless with it.
yeah.
Amazing. I think about it regularly.
And I don't think I think you can't replay that unless you start a new game.
Is that true?
I think if you go to mission select, I don't think you can play that first mission because it's like an epilogue.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
makes
if I'm right
sense.
about that, but I feel like I've tried to go back and play it, and that mission isn't there. But yeah, that first mission where he takes Vader's lightsaber and holds it up to, I think it's a great,
Unbelievable.
excellent game.
Yeah.
How about you, Kevin?
So the first ever Star Wars game I have ever played was the OG Star Wars Battlefront
Nice.
on
Yeah.
PS2. I logged maybe 4,000 hours into that game.
With a kid with nothing else to do, I can believe it.
I would come home from school, immediately run to my room, load up that game, and would play it endlessly.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that game.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 was so amazing, it overshadows 1, but I really think 1 has its perks in it when you play it. I think some of the maps in 1 are just as classic as 2. I don't know if you remember, do you remember the Kashyyyk map where it's the hill and there's the 2 piers that go out and there's the battle and there's the command post on the end? What a great map.
Mark,
Yeah.
Mark,
Yeah, talk to me.
I
Can't even.
Tell us
you're
how you feel.
you're like asking me to remember what I just ate for dinner.
That's right.
It's
Boom.
it's playing back like a movie in my head.
Yeah. I really liked Battlefront 1 because I can't remember if Battlefront 2 did this too, but Battlefront 1, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, because you have 4,000 hours.
I will.
In Battlefront 1, there was several maps for the same planet.
Yes, there
Like
was.
Naboo, there was like a city map, and then there was where the Gungans fought in Phantom Menace. There was a field map, and then there was a city map, and
There
then in
was stages.
Kashyyyk, Kashyyyk there was the nighttime one, and then the beach raid one. That's what I really liked about Battlefront 1, but I feel like everyone always just jumps to Battlefront 2. They're like, Battlefront 2's the best. I think Battlefront 1's got a couple things on top of Battlefront 2.
The people that jump to the Battlefront 2 are the casuals. The casuals.
That's a bar. That's a bar. Kevin's coming for blood right now. Pat's coming in. What's
I
up?
would just like to add that I have played neither game. Ever.
Really?
I've never played those games ever.
Mark, is it too late to kick him off the show when he's already
I'm not
been...
supposed to talk, but that's ridiculous.
I thought I would be honest. Sorry.
Didn't I send you the quiz before you get into the studio? There was a quiz you were supposed to fill out.
Oh no, I gave you a fake address.
Oh, so the Social Security wouldn't work either?
No, that's real.
Okay. Okay.
It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8,
7,
9.
8, 9.
Yep.
Wow.
No,
I mean, I
really-
can't tell you to go back and play them because you'll just
can't.
never do that.
Well,
You'll just never do.
I'm not gonna go buy a PS2 and
And the thing is, it wouldn't have the same. Cause,
Exactly.
I mean, Kevin, let's be honest here. Troy, let's be honest here. If we go back and play them,
It's not the same.
it's not the same.
It's not the same.
I've played Battlefront 2 a couple times, and it's just like, okay, this is tough.
I will back up Pat on his point. The Force Unleashed 2, I bought it,
Yeah.
and I got to maybe the second mission, and there was a scratch on my disc, and it wouldn't let me play forward anymore, and
you just said, all right,
I'm done.
I
you called it a day.
I was at no point, like, I didn't have money. I wasn't going to ask my parents, hey, this game doesn't work. Can you buy me a new one right away?
You get no, that's what you get.
So I sat there and finished the second mission and couldn't play it anymore.
That's a shame.
I'm in the same boat as you, so I will back you up on...
Battlefront, Force Unleashed 2 was not as good.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't,
Okay, so I didn't miss much.
not much.
It was,
the combat was much more fluid, I would say.
Okay.
Exactly. You could enjoy a full game of combat, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But would you get sucked in to
No.
the point where it was almost like another Star Wars story?
No, not as much as
Not-
the
I played
first
the
one.
first... Loved the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First one
not
was
not
great.
the same quality. The only thing I would say it has better than the first one was the combat combat was a little more fluid. The first one, it felt you were swinging a baseball bat. Like, it would hit people, and it would be like a baseball. It's like, this is a lightsaber. It is, but it's like, this is a lightsaber.
It should cut through.
This should just butter.
Pat,
So,
did you play Fallen Order? Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to talk, but I'm just curious.
I just want to make sure you're coming through.
Yeah.
Did you play Jedi Fallen Order, the newest Star Wars game?
I did not. I wanted to borrow it after Kevin borrowed it from one of you two, and I never.
I bought digital.
I had the disc, but I think I was at school, and then I never.
No,
came
you know
home in
what?
time.
You've just reminded me that I should buy it.
You
I've been
should.
wanting to buy
If
it.
you liked,
should.
if you liked Force Unleashed, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I will buy it then.
Good. Yeah. Good. There we go. Let us know how it is.
Kev, you played it, right?
I will.
I did play it to completion.
Pause that one as well.
Yeah, you can cut that one out.
I will. All right, so we've talked a lot about the past with Star Wars, so I think I want to talk about the future, what we're excited about, since we've obviously made Kevin a bigger fan of Star Wars, me and Troy. We've done a good thing, and Pat, it looks like we're on that road to recovery. We're getting him there.
We are, for sure.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much you know about the future shows with Star Wars, but what future shows are you most looking forward to? I'll start with Kevin, since Pat had the video game question first. What's that first show that you're most excited about?
I don't know if this will be a spoiler for Pat, but The Bad Batch.
Okay. It's not a spoiler, but yeah.
I am very much looking forward to that.
Okay.
Because
yeah, me too.
they had such a short timeline together.
Yeah.
And I feel that it dives down so much deeper. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they couldn't go into the whole storyline during the show, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to see how they come together.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be absolute mayhem what they do.
I think it is, yeah.
And
I
am here for it.
And you're now a Clone Wars guy, so you just want more Clone Wars.
Big
I get
Clone
it.
Wars guy.
I get it. Yeah.
Big
So
Clone
you just
Wars
want
guy.
more Clone Wars. Pat, season 7, you'll know. You'll know.
Hurry up and get there.
I will.
And Pat, how about you?
Now, I was thinking about saying The Bad Batch myself.
Okay.
Now, I don't
without even knowing.
I know.
Love that.
I don't have the same perspective, but it may have been your first podcast episode, one of the first few.
Stop it.
You mentioned all the upcoming projects and basically a synopsis of what they'll be about.
Right. Yes.
To me, the concept of the show is fascinating.
The clones versus clones.
Yeah, the ones that didn't get turned.
Yeah.
That is, I just see so much potential in it. I really do. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it'll be a hit.
Yeah.
But other than that, since Kevin took my answer,
Ride my coattails, Pat.
key to success. Again, I'm not caught up enough maybe to say this, but the Ahsoka series,
Yep.
fascinating character, and the one episode that I saw her on The Mandalorian, awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great in that show. Great casting choice. I'm not sure if they're going to keep the same or
Yeah.
they'll keep it.
They'll keep Rosario.
Been phenomenal.
For sure. Yeah.
The combat was awesome. She was just great. That was maybe the best episode. My favorite episode. I'm not sure the best, but I'm really looking forward to both of those.
Yeah. Well, if you're both in on Ahsoka, I gotta do the same Excel spreadsheet treatment for Rebels too, because Rebels is very much attached to what is going to be happening in Mandalorian and then with Ahsoka show. So I will make a spreadsheet for you guys for that too, because I think Rebels is a little bit harder to get into with Clone Wars because it's a little more fun. And when I say that, I don't mean it's not as good or that Clone Wars wasn't fun, but it's just a little more childish. I think Clone Wars hooks you a lot better because it's a lot more gritty from the start, and Rebels takes its time to get to the grittiness, so I'll definitely give you an Excel spreadsheet for that, because Ahsoka's arc in that is just as good. I know that's a spoiler for Rebels, it is, but at the same time it's not, because it has to happen.
I technically already had it spoiled.
Yeah, on TikTok.
We talked about this. I was scrolling through TikTok.
Yeah, don't say it, because Pat...
I won't say it, but the big fight scene...
Yeah, okay, you're
getting
starting.
close.
You're starting.
He doesn't know what
You're
he
starting.
doesn't know.
You're starting.
Doesn't
You're
know.
starting.
You are starting.
We're on thin ice. Let's just say
We're
that.
getting close. It's cracking.
All right, but you know what
Yes,
happened.
Of course I know what happened.
I'm upset about it.
I know.
I'm
so
upset about it.
I will give you guys the Rebel spreadsheet. Pat, Bad Batch comes out May 4th, so
I'll
you
be
should
caught up by then.
yeah, finish Clone Wars by then.
I'm on a mission now.
Good. And then I will provide the Rebel spreadsheet so you guys can catch up there, so you'll be ready for Bad Batch and then Ahsoka when it comes out.
Will it be color coordinated?
Of course.
Good.
It's the only way to get through it. Yeah.
That's the only way I can read it.
I know. Pretty lights, I get it. With these two, it's the pretty lights with the lightsabers and the pretty lights on the Excel sheet.
We're simple men.
Simple men.
We like explosions.
That's a good term. That's why they're the casuals. They just want explosions and shooting.
You give me 3 explosions and Silvester Stallone, you got me.
I want as little dialogue as possible. I just want fights.
That's why I like anime. Don't know it.
Hey,
You lost me there.
hey, let's not start with anime. I'll keep going right now with anime.
Love anime.
We're not doing it, but I want to. But we're not doing it.
Sorry. Silvester Stallone. All right.
Sly's my guy.
Sly is my guy. Italian.
Okay.
Oh, the cameraman.
Tiger in there, it's like me, We both got dementia, you know what I'm saying?
Time is kept in captivity. Don't know stupid from nothing. So after you guys said that absolute nonsense, I hope we're giving you a little more intricacy to Star Wars, because you guys talked about your explosions in Silvester Stallone. But I think we should backtrack just a little. And what would be, if you have one, what's a favorite Star Wars memory that pops out to you? I'll start with Pat. What's one that really, sticks out to you other than that first experience with it?
Yeah. So previous guests have had, of course, this amazing experience that is
Are you
life-changing.
talking about Galaxy's Edge?
I don't want to say it in front of you, not to make you bitter.
Smart, but it's too late.
I don't have the experience. But something that sticks out to me when The Force Awakens came out.
Okay.
Were we seniors in high school, I believe?
Yes.
So I remember a lot of hype around it, of course, across the world. Sitting at the lunch table, in lunch, with a couple of pals.
You were sitting at the lunch table in lunch?
Were you having lunch?
With a couple pals. And we were like, oh, wouldn't that be crazy if we saw it at midnight? Like, yeah, that would be awesome, but it's
Don't go too crazy.
it's 12:30 p.m. They're going to be sold out.
Wow.
And we said, you know what? Who says no? So we went online, and there you go. Midnight tickets. We bought them, and we went that night, and it was awesome.
And the theater was ridiculous. I remember going at midnight. It was ridiculous.
It was amazing. It really was maybe one of my favorite theater experiences.
It was a moment.
Yeah.
It was a moment.
Like I've heard you mention when the Star Wars pops
Boom.
up, when the letters go up,
Yeah.
when you see the Millennium Falcon.
How you
My
doing?
goodness. And I remember we all drove together, and the ride home, we couldn't shut up about like every scene we loved, how
Sweet,
much,
yeah.
and your issues with it come up after, but the night of,
As they marinate.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
as they
oh,
marinate.
the
yeah.
night of, it's a masterpiece.
Of course.
Still love that movie, to be honest.
It's a fun. It really is a fun movie. I rewatched it recently, and I was like, okay, I get it. It's fun. I get it. Yeah,
from
for
a
sure.
casual's perspective.
No,
It's fun.
you'd love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is a good time. And Kevin, how about I don't know if there's one that pops out to you. If not, that's okay.
There's not a specific event or anything I went to where it was something that popped out to me, but when you were asking Pat the same question, I immediately thought of one scene
There we go.
that I very much enjoyed.
Nice.
It was the very ending of Rogue One, where Darth Vader comes through
Okay. Yeah.
and absolutely mows down everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it gave a better perspective onto who Darth Vader really is and what he can do,
Yeah.
because it was a lot more gritty and dark than the original scene.
Yeah, I think with Darth Vader, the only, I mean, people say that the thing is, like, people always think of Darth Vader as like this badass, which he is in the original trilogy, but like you said, in Rogue One, that was the first time you really saw him, just taking out people mercilessly.
I don't want to say he was at full capacity, but he was
Close.
He was close.
He was close. I mean,
Close.
Yeah, in A New Hope, his introduction, he chokes the guy out with his bare hand. I mean, yeah, for sure, that's hardcore. But I mean, past that, I mean, it was always it was dialogue that made him scary. And then, in Empire Strikes Back, when he deflects the laser bolts, that was cool too. And then, how he just absolutely destroys Luke. But that's expected. But yeah, until Rogue One, I mean, that was really the first time you were like,
this guy's the real deal.
yeah. And the weird thing is, the thing I think about when I see Rogue One, that scene in 2000, when did that come out? 17, 18?
18, around there.
What I think about in that is all the people that saw the original trilogy back in the 70s and 80s, and, you know, like, them getting to experience that as they get old, because they always had a picture of that Darth Vader in their head, and then 40 years later, it finally, like, comes out on the screen, and it's like, whoa. Which is the same thing with Boba Fett in Mandalorian. Like, that same thing, you're like, you want to see him just go hardcore, and all these years later, you finally get to see it in Season 2, and you're like, thank you.
I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
Part of my beef with Star Wars over the years has been the lack of fleshing out or expanding their universe in the films.
Bombacity? Or you saying just...
I'm saying they have so much material over the last 50 years in whether it be books, comics, all this. I see so much potential. And in terms of Darth Vader, like, that man has, like, conquered a galaxy. Yeah. That's a bad man. I want to see that man in action.
I will forever lobby for a standalone Darth Vader movie where he hunts through the galaxy for the Jedi. I will forever lobby for that.
We could do a series on Disney Plus to give it each episode a different Jedi.
I would prefer it to go to the movies, so it's more gritty, because when it comes to TV, they'll dumb it down. I don't want to say dumb it down, but they'll play it down a little bit as more what they can get away with a movie.
Rated R movie you'd like to see.
They won't. They'll never.
Disney won't do that.
Not even Disney. Star Wars would never, because it's supposed to be for kids. They would never do an R-rated movie.
I know that's the issue. But I would like to see them expand to these different characters and everything they have.
They've definitely cornered themselves. I think Disney itself has really cornered itself, and they've really tried to, like, expand on characters that have already, done their thing, and they're just trying to expand them. And I think sometimes it's just not necessary. The thing about a Darth Vader standalone show or movie is, if it were to happen, and I mean, you're going to see it in Obi-Wan.
Yes.
I mean, you're going to see Vader. I'm sure there's going to be some scenes with him going crazy, and that, kind of early on Vader where he's just started out.
Mentally unstable.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say he's mentally unstable throughout the whole thing. Yeah. He masked it. But I think if you were ever to get a show or a standalone thing about just Darth Vader, not Anakin, obviously we always saw Anakin's story, but what?
Spoiler.
You're funny. You guys are very funny. The thing with Darth Vader is it would never be about the overall fights. If they were ever to do a standalone, it would always be about the mental struggle of
the internal conflict
of his failure, because that's the whole point of the original trilogy. So if you were ever to get that, you would definitely get those scenes, but they would never be the focal point of a series. And that's the only reason I think they would never do it, is because it would focus on things that I don't know if people want to see. I mean, I want to see it, and I think a lot of people would like to see it, but I think it wouldn't be what people would expect. Like you guys said, you want to see Vader hunting Jedi. I don't think they would do it. I mean, they could do some episodes about it, but I think it would be too dark to just be like, go find Jedi, hunt. It would definitely be some conflict in it, and I think it would be interesting. I definitely would be all for it if it was definitely about the mental, internal aspect of it, for sure.
Yeah, with a character like Vader, I think, now that you mention this, only first I've ever thought of it, I think you would be wasting his potential to just make it fights. I think the mental struggle
absolutely.
Would be essential.
So much more.
I would love to see it. I absolutely would. But you commercial-wise, marketability, I don't know how it will go.
Yeah. Well, that's what I hope with Obi-Wan. I hope Obi-Wan is a very, cerebral, internal experience of him reflecting on it, flashbacks with Anakin and Hayden Christensen, and then maybe some stuff with Darth Vader. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for that. I hope that it is good. I hope it's well written. I'm sure it is, but there is going to be so much anticipation for that and so much hype that if it even dips below what it should be, I feel like it's going to be, it's so scary.
But us being
casuals,
the quote-unquote casual fans, I have extremely high hopes for this.
Yeah, I'm through the roof.
Because it has to deal with Anakin, Darth Vader becoming one, and Obi-Wan's failures as a Jedi Master. And
oh my gosh.
There's two different paths they can take with this, and I'm extremely excited for either way they take it.
Yeah.
But my hopes are through the roof.
Yeah.
Wow, this is making me realize that's my most anticipated show.
I mean, I think it's like a default. The Obi-Wan, everyone's just like, of course. Yeah. But you got to pick what are the other ones.
That's a good point. But everything you said, Kevin, it should be good stuff.
It
should be good.
Oh my goodness.
They could take it either. They can make a show just about Obi-Wan. They can make a show just about Darth Vader's conflicts. They can take it 2 different ways, and it would just both be amazing.
Yeah.
We can all agree that first scene where Obi-Wan and Anakin are on the screen again together, and you know they're both going to be in like their Clone Wars gear, it's going to be out of body. Like,
Yeah.
I love Ahsoka to death, and seeing her in live action was awesome, but you saw it was a medium shift. You saw her go from animation to live action. This is going to be Ewan and Hayden to Ewan and Hayden.
Just
It's going to be
going
boom,
at it.
boom, boom, boom. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I don't know if they'll have a Vader and Obi-Wan fight scene. I don't know if I want it in this
I
one.
don't know if I don't.
I
want them
think
to
the
push
New
it.
Hope one, it would make more sense for the dialogue if they stuck with the New Hope one. But if they could pull it off, I'll leave it up to them. But man,
it's a limited series. It's only one.
yeah,
season.
thank God it's going to be a limited series. I don't want them to stretch that out. I think
Yeah.
it should be concise, 10 episodes, hour each, boom. Even if it's not an hour, whatever. But
Hope it's an hour.
I mean,
Boom.
10 hours is a lot to ask for, even.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
mean-
saying. Like, they could.
I mean,
even go
eight
less and we'd be
hours
happy.
is fine. Yeah.
We'd be happy with anything like
Just
that.
to see them on screen together
Yeah.
again is
It's gonna be
more
crazy.
than enough.
I
It's
just
gonna
want to
be
hear
crazy.
Ewan McGregor talk. Just serenade
I've missed
me.
him. I've
Just
missed him.
serenade.
Yeah, I've missed him.
Yeah. I really hope they. I know I always talk about scores and soundtracks, but I really hope they recycle and reuse some of the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack in it. I really hope they don't go out of their way to just try and find a producer to bring something new. I think in this case, Star Wars should just stick to their guns and be like, nope, we're going to use this Revenge of the Sith soundtrack. I think it fits perfectly with the sad, terrible state that the galaxy's in. I think they should stick to it, but we shall see.
And the nostalgia you'd feel hearing that
Oh.
same score. Oh my god!
Anytime I hear it, I mean,
Our whole
come on.
generation would be hooked. It'd be me.
Tears.
Yeah, tears. Yeah, I think
Tears,
so.
goosebumps, all of it. Mm-hmm. So we started talking about movies. Let's get down to the business of the business. The ranking of the movies. We're going to do Skywalker Saga, Solo, Rogue One. We're just going to put those outside. Where would you put them in the ranking? We're going to keep them out of the Skywalker Saga, but where would you put them? Pat, where would you put Solo and Rogue One?
Solo, I saw late, well after it came out. I enjoyed it. Fun. Mm-hmm. Not blown away.
Yeah.
It'd be in the bottom half. Rogue One, unpopular opinion, I did not enjoy.
Okay. Okay.
That's a hot take.
There are reasons why I didn't enjoy it. They're my own fault. We had stayed over here the night before, and we went in the morning, and I did sleep through most of it. I wasn't feeling too great. I may have had a bug.
A bug, huh?
Sure.
Would that be accredited to anything, or was it?
Yes, the good old people at Bush Light. And I really haven't given it another chance, but I remember the ending, and I loved it.
Okay.
Sick ending.
All right.
Because it wasn't all like happy. It was like,
Oh, yeah, it
it's
was
crazy
getting
stuff.
down to business. Yeah.
I can't give you a ranking of all the movies.
Oh,
I
okay.
said I can't.
You can't.
No, I'm sorry. Was Kevin supposed to do the Han Solo and...
Do you run the show now, or is it?
I was just jumping in.
This is Mark's podcast, so
Well, it's Pat of Balance.
Okay, so Pat, you're refusing to do a ranking.
I don't have the ability. Like, I can't. I can give you my top two, though.
Okay, fine, Pat. We'll hear your top two. What's your top two?
My top two. Revenge of the Sith,
Okay.
of course. Return of the Jedi.
Okay. Nice. Okay, Kevin, since
I don't know how to follow that.
since Pre-Madonna over here just can't do it.
Didn't mean to.
Just refuses your question on your own show. It's kind of
I
disrespectful.
can't give... I just don't...
You're a
have
politician.
the vote tool. I'll fix it.
That's a good one.
I
That's
know.
a good one.
I'm smart.
Okay, Kevin. So,
Okay, well,
you really liked Rogue One, so it would be top half or lower half?
I'd say top half. It's not in. It's not in the top 3.
Okay, top half. Though.
It might crack top 5, maybe.
Okay, it's
I'd
there.
say 6.
It's in there.
It's in there.
Okay, all right. So we'll go top 9, starting at 9. Where are we going?
It's hard to say, but the Phantom Menace. It's
Okay. All right.
It's-
Hey, I hear you.
it has its times, but majority of the movie it's tough.
Okay.
It's
I
tough.
mean for you.
For me,
Okay.
the dialogue is tough. It's cringy.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
You have Jar Jar Binks.
I should probably put that one then, huh?
No.
I don't get the hate on Jar Jar. I just don't get it.
No, I don't hate.
I thought it was like an internet trend for many years, like Nickelback and all that.
Yeah.
And then I went to rewatch it about a month ago, and I turned it off after like a good 5-10 minutes. I hate the guy.
Have you ever seen Phantom Menace?
Not since I was a kid.
Okay.
I couldn't get through the 10 minutes because the Jar Jar Binks, man.
Have you seen Darth Jar Jar?
Yeah, I've seen the theories, and I buy it.
And I'm
Can't
in.
trust that man.
How could you
That's a bad man. All right. Phantom Menace at 9, Kevin. Let's move it up. 8.
They're very interchangeable for me.
It's okay. Just say it.
I'm signing with Pat. I don't know if I can give you right at this very moment a 1 through 9. I can't.
All right.
have as much understanding.
Excuse me, everyone listening. I'm sorry. I forgot I was talking to casuals.
Yeah.
This is my fault. I should have prepared more. I'm going to do a top 3, okay? We're going to
Okay,
do a top
yes.
3. I forgot I was talking
Thank
to casual.
you.
This is on me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pat already gave his top 2. I'm not giving him a third. I'm not listening to it.
Stern but fair.
Kevin, top 3. I'm sorry that this became a thing. Top 3, Kevin.
I was not expecting this question. It was not on the notes you sent me.
It was.
It's right here.
Well, he did.
Favorite movie in the
where-
series, or if you want to do
Yeah.
a ranking.
He said or.
There was an or.
The
where I
ranking was
didn't have
an
to.
option play. That's why I thought
Yeah.
my opt out wasn't
Okay,
There was a big or where I didn't.
Kevin,
have to.
top 3.
Okay, sorry. Top 3.
Even this he's not prepared for.
Have you read the questions?
No, he didn't.
I
He
saw
said
an
he didn't.
or to where I could choose which one I wanted to answer.
What's your favorite one, Kevin?
My favorite one?
Yes.
It has to be Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Because it's just the
Excellent.
gateway to everything.
Nice. You like dark stuff.
Number 2.
Yes.
Okay, number 2. What's your next up?
I would say, as I'm not going to piggyback off Pat, but my opinion would be Return of the Jedi.
Okay,
And then number 3.
and number 3.
I feel like I have to.
You don't have to do anything. What do you like? What is your third one? What's the one that you would put on if you were just hanging out and you wanted to watch a Star Wars movie?
A New Hope was on TV
Okay,
a couple weeks ago.
that's fine.
Rewatched
I like
it.
It's fun. It's great.
It's a phenomenal movie.
It is.
Once they get to the Death Star, a lot of fun.
Oh.
A lot of fun. Just a lot of banter, a lot of fun.
A lot of nostalgia.
A lot of
We all remember the 70s, you know? Just good times.
Can I ask where they sit on the sequel trilogy? I'm curious, as casual fans. Honestly, is that a serious thing? Thank you.
It's like it's Troy's body.
All right, so that's your top 3-ish with Pat. 2.5.
There's an asterisk next to the
Okay.
top 3 because
All
they're
right.
interchangeable. It depends on how I feel that day.
That's fine. I never having casuals on again. All right, so there's a lot of controversy, a lot of debate around the sequel trilogy. Pat, I know you already mentioned The Force Awakens was a good memory for you. How do you feel about the sequel trilogy, how it turned out, where they took the story, how the movies ended up? What do you think? Pat, you can go first.
I think I mentioned when I brought up The Force Awakens that, you know, it was great to see, it was awesome, but problems arose quickly after.
Yeah.
To be almost an exact copy of I believe A New Hope would be.
Oh, yeah.
That,
Oh, yeah.
Once I realized that, about 2 days later, it drove me nuts. Like I said earlier, too, they have such a vast galaxy to work with.
They could do so much, yeah.
It drives me
I
nuts.
know.
It really does. Second and third, you know, again, they're fun movies for casuals. They're, you know, good action, but there's just so many issues with it. Overall, the trilogy, like, I'm going to go with nah.
Yeah. I hear you.
Nah.
How about you, Kev?
I'm indifferent. I enjoyed them. It wasn't my favorite thing ever. I don't think it was necessary to make
Hey, you don't have to talk to me about
the
that.
following trilogy.
I like that point.
I think there was a lot of empty plot holes.
For sure.
I believe it was. I don't remember if it was The Force Awakens or the Last Jedi at the very end with the young kid moving the broomstick.
Last Jedi, yeah.
They just never touched upon that.
Well,
again.
that was more to emphasize the point of the theme of someone from nowhere. That was just emphasizing that anyone could have the Force, anyone could be a hero in the galaxy. I don't think Rian Johnson was saying like this kid, this broom boy is going to go
That's
somewhere.
how I took it.
Oh, a
where
lot of
it
people
was-
did. I remember broom boy was a thing. I know.
It was like an empty plot hole. Like, all right, this kid might be something in the following movies, and they just dropped him.
Please don't take this to heart, anyone. But
I might.
okay, well, Rian Johnson is a nuanced movie and script writer, and for casual moviegoers.
Yeah, what? I don't know who that would be. I'm gonna be honest.
Casual moviegoers see something like that and they assume that it has to be continued in a plot line.
I didn't.
Okay, good. So,
All right, just hang me out to dry.
people that understood the theme and saw that it was just emphasizing the point of someone from nowhere. It's just Rian Johnson is a different kind of filmmaker from what... Have you seen Knives Out? Has anyone seen Knives Out here?
Yes, phenomenal.
Yeah, like
him? He made that?
He made that.
I
Yeah,
did not know that.
Yeah, so his writing and directing is a lot different than, George Lucas or any of the other filmmakers that did, or the directors that did the original trilogy. So it's just going to be different. So I understand, because in Star Wars, you're taught to see something and be like, that needs to be continued.
Yes.
I understand. And that's why people have problems with The Last Jedi, because it challenged those things where it was like, no, that's just emphasizing the theme. That broom boy doesn't have to hold the lightsaber in the next movie. So
Kevin brought a broom to the premiere.
I'm broom boy.
We're all broom boy.
we can all be broom boy.
No, I think I understood that too, though. It's like, the Force it could be anybody. Who knows?
The Force is supposed to be anybody, and that's why the Rise of Skywalker is such a problem.
Yes.
You can like the movie. Okay, fine. You could have fun with it, but don't say that its themes are the same as what Star Wars is trying to get at, because the Rey storyline of her being related to a Palpatine because his clone had a baby, and it's just, come on.
Ridiculous.
Even I could pick that apart.
Even the casuals understood that this was a problem. Yeah. They saw the flashing lights and they said, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Even, like, they go to Exegol, and there's just millions of Star Destroyers. You're like, where did this come from? Who did this?
My favorite about Exegol is because they're all underground, and all these people were apparently fed and housed underground in these Star Destroyers. And then
this is normal.
They just lift, and all these Sith troopers like, oh, the sunlight, finally!
That brings up my point I said earlier, where it drives me absolutely nuts. They repeat everything. How many movies can you say, oh, we're all good? Wait a minute. They built an army. Like,
they have
how many times?
Planet Destroyer.
Yeah, how many times can you say it? And then
I know.
You can't just make it bigger every decade.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
I know, Pat, you said you read the Extended Universe books. You read about Darth Bane and stuff. Darth Bane, my bad.
2 novels of Darth Bane.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Recommend it to everybody.
So that's early in the mythology, but there was books that were written after Return of the Jedi where they had these plot lines with Mara Jade, which I believe was Han Solo's daughter, Luke's.
I don't know off the top of my head. Sorry,
I forget. But there was these plot lines that came after Return of the Jedi. There were some that were a little out there. There were some crazy ones. If you want to look at them, they're pretty crazy. There was like some I don't even want to talk about it. But there are some pretty out there ones. But there's also ones that even George Lucas he even had a script for, like what would happen after Return of the Jedi. And when you see the sequel trilogy and you see it as a whole, and I get that kids grew up with it, like kids were born in this generation, they saw it. But as a whole, it wasn't a necessary plot. It just wasn't. Anakin's story, the whole saga of Anakin was completed. There was no need to it just feels like an add-on. Like, it doesn't feel like it extended Anakin's story anymore, because the Star Wars saga of 1 through 6 was about Anakin, his rise and fall. And then when you go into the sequel trilogy, you can't say Anakin has anything to do with it. Objectively. Yeah. Even if you liked them, you can say that seeing their 7, 8, and 9, you can't say Anakin had any part in what happened there. And that's Ben Solo can look up to him. Kylo can say, "Oh, Darth Vader's my idol."
That's the only way they tied him into
but
that
that's
movie.
it. And you can't say it really like drew you in. Like, oh my gosh, Anakin is like a central part of this. It's like, no. I feel like that guy that's like, oh, the young kids can't like that. But it's just, as an objective Star Wars fan, you have to realize that 1 through 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, just they don't connect to Anakin's story as much as they should if they're going to be a continuation of such a great ending to Return of Jedi. I mean, both of you said Return of Jedi was your second favorite movie.
Yes.
I mean,
it's my top 2. I can't tell if it's 1 or 2. But
I mean, Return of Jedi is my favorite movie just because of the last hour of how well it just connects all the themes of. I mean, what's the last major movie franchise where the hero wins by not fighting?
None.
Can't think of one.
By not fighting.
No.
Can't think of one.
Yeah.
Luke wins by throwing away his weapon. I mean, major franchises, Frodo, he fights for the ring at the end to destroy it. Marvel, Tony Stark, he does the thing.
He had a scrap, sure.
He does the thing.
Harry Potter did a wand thing.
Harry Potter,
Probably,
he fought. I mean, in the 80s, like, how forward-thinking and original can you be to be the winner of a fight by not fighting?
And I'm sure it's so tempting to be able to sell that final fight. You know, the theatrics, the money.
Exactly.
And he said, you know what? No. I'm
We're gonna go nuanced.
And I respect that.
Because you can go like this and say like, oh, Luke would defeat Darth Vader and all the galaxies saved, but
cool. But
the meshing of them accepting each other as father, son,
exactly.
it's a whole new level.
It's completely different.
And that's why I think Star Wars lives forever, because most sci-fi or fantasy kind of things, they always rely on epic fight, bombastic, but the original trilogy, not just because of the technological limits, they always pushed for a more nuanced answer to everything. I mean,
I agree.
The Return of the Jedi, like, it was all about the relationship of Darth Vader and Luke and less about their power struggle. I don't want to compare it to Marvel, but like Marvel like always pushed that Thanos was powerful.
Like he's the one.
Yeah, he had a good theme, like his ideology, you could connect with it, but like powerful. He had power. And they always like, oh, we got to match power. Captain Marvel, superpower, all this. But then when you come back to Star Wars, it's not about power. And that's why I think it lives on, because it always pushed for a more, I don't know how to put it, but it always just took the less taken path.
Yeah, sure.
But everything else, it was always about how much experience, how much can you gain.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's why I love Star Wars, because I think it does things that other franchises wouldn't do.
Yeah, it certainly does.
So,
That's for sure. And whatever, there's similarities in franchises, Star Wars is probably the first to do it. So
yeah,
I,
for sure.
I believe that Star Wars will outlive probably anything Marvel has done. If you were to compare the two franchises like head to head, I think Star Wars will outlive Marvel.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
We got to remember that Marvel just started 10 years ago.
This is
11
true.
years ago.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean, people got to remember that Marvel just finished, and I know they released 22 movies, but it was 10 years.
It was, they were consecutive.
I mean,
like
Star Wars just had the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, 40 years, and it's still like this cultural icon thing. So, I mean, we would have to see. I mean, Marvel in 40 years, we'd have to see what it does. I mean, I'm sure it'll stand up to the test of time. I mean, Infinity War and Endgame both are sold as much as Star Wars and Force Awakens did, but we'd have to see what it does. But you got 6 movies, and they somehow have pushed it into what it is now. It's a stratosphere level thing, and it was only 6 movies. I mean,
It's like beyond like a cultural phenomenon at this point. It's
right.
It's like part of humanity.
It's
like,
a thing.
It's crazy.
Like,
it really is.
If you haven't seen Star Wars, you're an outcast.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
My favorite way that they put Star Wars is it's a modern mythology. Like, you have your Greek myths of Achilles isn't Greek, right?
Yeah, he was Greek.
He was Greek. Okay.
Greek, yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Don't. You have your Greek mythology of, you learn about it in history 1,000 years later, and people say that Luke Skywalker will be that mythological hero 1,000 years later. Like, people will talk about. I mean, we consume myths different now because we consume them as movies.
We don't worship him as a god.
Yeah,
right?
but we.
Maybe you don't.
I do.
I worship Jar Jar Binks. Thank you very much.
Jar Jar?
I sacrifice a lamb a month to Luke Skywalker.
I have my own plasma lightsaber.
So, yeah, we consume it as movies now. Back then, they consumed it through bards in pubs with epic poems that are 1,000 pages long. But that's the best way I took it, was it's a modern mythology, which I always thought it was cool.
Very cool perspective. Yeah, I like that.
So I hope in 1,000 years that people talk about Star Wars. I don't know.
If you make that point, it's weird to put us in that timeline because we didn't grow up with the original trilogy.
We grew up with something.
but we grew up with the prequels. We grew up with
Clone Wars. Yeah,
We're
We've been
a
alive
part
for the
of
majority of the movies.
Yeah,
you know?
if you're going to make that connection, we're a part of that progressive ideological.
yeah. I mean,
That's not a word.
it's not a word.
It's not.
Not in that sense.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I meant.
ideology.
That's what I meant.
I think in 1,000 years, people will be listening to this podcast.
And think we were the trailblazers.
They'll think of this
Yeah.
episode right now
Oh,
with
yeah.
Pat and
Oh, yeah.
Kevin.
Well, they're going to rename it.
To
To
what?
Pat and Kevin?
Kevin and Pat balance.
PK for shizzle.
That's what they'll call it.
I don't. Where's the balance come in? No balance.
Oh, there's no balance.
No, because we're fully gas pedal.
all gas, no brakes.
Cut them out.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop this right now.
No stopping this.
You probably should, because we're going to continue.
I'm gonna install new brake lines right now.
Don't have a car.
It's enough out of you two. Okay. So, as always, thank you guys for listening. Pat, Kevin, if you'd like to say something to end it off.
Yeah, we were having a lot of laughs, but I really love this podcast.
Thank you.
Love my pal Mark.
Thank you.
And I hope all you continue to listen, and I hope me and Kevin didn't make fools of ourselves too much.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Kevin?
Yeah, I hope we were able to shed some light on the non-diehard
There you go.
Star Wars
Yeah.
fans. You can get Pat and I's perspective
Yeah.
as a quote-unquote casual fan as to where we stand on the franchise and what we hope to see,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall you guys talked just as well, maybe a little less well, as a diehard or someone that, goes crazy for Star Wars. I think you guys are right up there with what you're doing. You guys are watching Clone Wars, so you'll be right along
We'll
with
be finishing
it.
it soon.
Yeah, so as always, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and may the Force be with you.
And with your spirit.
It's a good one.
Yes.
That was good stuff. Good stuff.
That was an
I have it.
Send that to me.
Yeah. Nice.